Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for TikTok. That's where most of my audience is on TikTok. Oops. Just waiting for people to turn up. Hello, Maureen Langa. Probably said that wrong, sorry. Kit Kate, that's cute. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from and the ages of your children. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. My kids are 33 and 28, and I've got a granddaughter on the way. Pardon me. Sometimes my voice just gives out because I have to talk so much in my business and I don't get any warning. Like I was talking just fine 2 minutes ago and now I got a frog in my throat. So while we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from and the ages of your children. Australia, 4 and 8-month-old boys. Whereabouts in Australia? Tish. My son was born in Sydney. My daughter was born in Brisbane, and we spent most of the time there in Brisbane. I was there for about 20 years. Perth. Oh, okay. You're way on the other side. That's far away. My daughter has a friend who lives in Perth. Tennessee, 3-year-old boy and 2-year-old girl. Oh, that's nice. Nice and close. And you're sort of getting over that toddler stuff, I'm assuming, with the boy anyway. So where are you from and how old are your kids? And on YouTube, I am looking at the YouTube questions too, but I have to look away from the screen to do that. So it's like if I'm looking at YouTube, I'm going like that. So because I've got both my cameras up here now. Indiana, 7 and 9. Cyprus, 2.5 years old. Cyprus. Townsville, 2 boys turning 3 and turning 2 boys turning 3 and turning. Las Vegas, granddaughter 2. Yeah, I've got a granddaughter due soon. Colorado, I have 4 boys. Wow, 10, 8, 6, and 4. Wow, you really planned that out well, eh? South Korea, 2 years old, throws anything when free. Yeah, they do that. North Carolina, 14 and a half months. 14 and a half months. 14-year-old and I don't quite understand that. North Carolina, 14 and a half months. So 14 and a half year old, 14-year-old? Okay. Melbourne, 3-year-old and 7-month-old. Okay, you're busy. 2-year-old and 7-month-old. Okay, let's get going now. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer. That's basically my website in bullet point form. You can buy my courses. I have a boot camp that it's called Bratbusters Boot Camp. It's just a transformation in 5 weeks. I've got mini toddler courses. I also have a free behavior board. That's if you have a 3-year-old and up. If they're under 3 and you want to correct behavior, it's consistent corrective actions. Because toddlers learn through repetition. They don't learn through words. It's consistent corrective actions. Yeah, it takes a while with them. South Jersey, 9-month-old. Starting to process it. Oh, okay. Any tips on helping young kids deal with grief? Their dad passed away 5 years ago, but now they are starting to process it. Yeah, that's tough. I lost my father when I was a kid. It's hell. The best thing you can do for your kids is, you know what helped me? Was talking to other kids who had tough things to go through, because all my friends were complaining about their parents. And, I lost my childhood. I grew up overnight, and talking to other kids who'd also dealt with difficult stuff. And it's interesting. It didn't have to be grief. It could be other things, but just kids who were also dealing with big stuff, not just the little stuff. You know what I'm talking about. That was what helped me the most. And that's what I recommend you do, is look for like support groups. Just get them in. There's all sorts of stuff out there. But yeah, check that out. That's the best advice I can give you. It's tough. All the usual advice, talk it out, talk about the good times, validate the fact it is tough. Don't try and make it sound like it isn't, because that's just, it's kind of unpleasant to hear. Yeah, and you were lucky to have them, and yeah, life's great. And yeah, no, it's still hell. So, I've been through a lot in my life. I'm in my 60s now, and losing my father when I was young was still the most traumatic event I've ever dealt with because I was young. And as you get older, you learn how to deal with stuff better. Like I had a miscarriage, and that was nothing compared to losing my dad when I was young. Don't get me wrong; it was sad, but I'd already developed such gigantic coping skills, out of necessity. So it's rough. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, I see. I see. 14 and a half months. Oh, I see. Okay. That wasn't your fault. I knew I was reading it wrong, and I knew everyone else was probably going, Lisa, you dope. It's 14 and a half months. Can't you figure that out? It's okay. I'm used to being laughed at. Um, Texas and pregnant. Congratulations. Hope it's a good pregnancy. I was lousy at being pregnant, so it was horrible. I'm great once they pop out. No postpartum depression, nothing. It was fun on. It was great. But pregnancy, not so much. I had surgery after both kids. I had back surgery after my son and heart surgery after my daughter. My body was not meant to carry kids. I'm glad I shot 2 of them out. Oh, I'm wearing a white shirt again, and the printing is in white. So I'm going to have to pull my hair down. There we go. So I can read your questions. Oh, crazy. Okay. Yeah. My son is 5 and runs away at school because he wants to play. What can I do since I'm not there? Okay, there's 2 reasons why they act out at school. One is that you're not a leader at home. You kind of give in to them. They're used to getting their own way. That's the most common reason why they act out at school. And the other one is potentially he doesn't like what's going on at school. Sounds to me like it's just the first one. He's used to getting his own way at home. So make sure that you're a leader at home and he understands accountability and self-discipline. He's 5 years old. He can learn that by now. Someone asked me a little while ago, they said, what do you teach? And I didn't want them to know who I am online. Like if I meet people in person, I don't want them to know about this because then I don't want them asking me questions. You know what I mean? I just want to be Lisa. So I say I teach accountability and respect. Really, that's all this is. So yeah, he just hasn't learned accountability and respect yet. So you got to teach that at home. By the age of 5, they take that everywhere they go. When they've got a leader at home, by the time they're about 3.5 to 4, they take that leadership umbrella everywhere they go. When they respect you, they tend to respect everybody. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I'm guessing he kind of runs the roost at home. Am I right? I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing. My oldest is autistic and he's really struggling with it. Yeah, that's a coaching issue. I don't discuss autism, troubled teens, crisis, abuse, all that stuff that I deal with in coaching. I deal with other stuff that's easy too in coaching, but that other bigger stuff, that's in coaching. And it's not to say that autism is crisis. It's specific. It's a specialty. So I only discuss that in coaching because I have to get to know you and your kid because they're all different, right? Love your hair. Oh, thanks. I'm using it as the backdrop for your white question. All your questions are in white lettering, and I couldn't see them with my white tops. I had to pull my hair forward. I got a lot of hair. I lost half of it with menopause, and it was the best thing that ever happened. When you got so much hair, losing half of it is like, yippee. Who would have thought? Menopause was great to me. I loved it. Okay. I don't know what you mean. I'm not even going to try and guess that one. Sometimes people write stuff and I'm like, I don't know. Hi, my 5-year-old is acting out terrible behavior she learned from her 6-year-old cousin. It's driving us crazy. Okay, she didn't learn that from her cousin. She learned it from you. She just did. Because no matter what other kids do, when you're a really strong leader, you're their influence. They can't be influenced by outside people. It's impossible. It just doesn't happen. So you set yourself up as a really strong, calm leader, and they are not susceptible or vulnerable to anyone else's guidance. Okay? So when you're a leader, if they don't have a leader at home, they're very vulnerable and susceptible to peer pressure, which is what that is. Peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians, whatever. They're very susceptible, vulnerable out there in the world with other people. unless you're a strong leader. They'll always fall under your umbrella when you're a good leader because you're like a mentor. They want to please you. Okay. Yeah, she's very young. She should really be in that heightened please parent mode when you're a leader. You don't want obedient little soldiers. You just want to be a mentor that they look up to, and they wouldn't do anything that would upset you. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, work on yourself. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. A lot of parents don't want to hear this. I'm sure a lot of people go unsubscribe, unfollow, and I'm fine with that. But I'm just telling you what you need to hear because I want to get you results. I'm obsessed with your results. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to make you feel good. I know that sounds awful, but I'm not. I'd rather you feel bad and learn something. It's a terrible thing to say, but that's how I learn. I like the truth. If I'm trying to learn something, I would rather someone say, yeah, you suck at this. Why can't you get this? Come on, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That's the way I learn. I don't want to be I don't like things sugar coated. I just like the truth. Obviously, if it's productive, like I don't want someone saying you're old and you're ugly. Well, it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's productive. So yeah, I'm trying to help you here. And yeah, when you're a good leader, they are just not susceptible to outside influences. It just doesn't happen. Even right through the teen years, by the way. Oh, okay. How do I tell my 3-year-old his grandpa passed away? He keeps asking to see him and I'm hurting. Yeah, it's awful. Grief is awful. Just say it like it is. He's died. I don't know where he is. You can get a book. If you're religious, I think that might help a little bit. You got something to lean on. I wasn't raised with religion. And so I don't talk about it. But yeah, just say, I think he's out there looking at you, but you just won't be able to see him again. He can still see you or something like that. There's lots of books on that too that help them through it. The thing is, people want to make it easy. You can't. Everyone wants to make things easy for their kids. You can't. You can't. What all comes with a $200 course? I've got the Bratbusters boot camp is $197 US, and it's just what it is. I just answer questions on there about the course. Like you don't put down exactly what you're going through and what do we do, but it's all in reference to the course. So it's not coaching. It's all in reference to that course. I've been doing this for 17 years now. I put pretty much what I think everything you need to hear in there. And if you want the personal attention, that's separate. Some people will actually hire me for a session after they've done that course because they'll realize there's something that's just a little bit more challenging in their family. But if you're just going through the normal average stuff, I put in sex education in there, bullying. I put in tons of stuff in there. And yeah, it's just the course. Your teaching style is very empowering, I think. Yeah, and it's not for everybody. And you've got to follow who resonates with you. I'm really bad for this. I'm always learning. Like every single day, I dedicate a whole hour to learning stuff about business, life, whatever. I like to be a lifelong learner. And I flit around from person to person and I set up my day. Oh, I like the way they did it. I'm going to set up my day like that. Every day I have a different system for how I set up my day. You shouldn't do parenting like that. You got to stick to a path and follow it. That's why I never get great results for how I organize my day. Some days are better than others, depending on who I followed. So, but what I'm saying is if you're going to follow parenting advice, you don't do that. Don't pick and choose. Don't keep flitting around from different methods. You got to stick to this for 3 to 6 weeks before you really see results. And but pick a path, either me or someone else, but pick one path and go with it. It's like dieting. You can't just pick and choose what you like from different diets and expect any results whatsoever. Like if you were to throw timeout into my method, it would tank. I hate timeout. I think it's mean. And I don't do mean stuff. So like with kids, I'm all about giving respect to get it. So yeah, but yeah, I don't practice what I preach when it comes to learning, but yeah. Also, if you're going to follow someone for parenting advice, it is hardcore experience-based because a lot of my clients are teachers, principals, social workers, school counselors, child psychologists, because they're great at what they do, but it's not parenting. Parenting's different. It's heavily hardcore experience-based is parenting. So the 2 criteria that I would look out for, I wouldn't even buy a parenting book or anything unless that author or whoever's talking has these 2 qualifications. One is they have to have finished the job with their own kids. Have they lived through the teen years? Have they raised young adults? Have they proved that they know what they're doing by having young adults that are high functioning? And you know what I'm saying? You have to have proved you can do it. And the second one is, my kids were quite easy. I got respect when they were tiny, kind of sailed right through the teen years. But I've worked with hundreds of kids, troubled teens, disabled children, just most kids with ADHD, all that kind of stuff, the normal stuff. But yeah, they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids too. Because what if they just had really easy kids and nothing, they could do everything wrong and their kids would still have turned out fine, which can happen. It's rare, but it could happen. But yeah, those two criteria. Because if you're not listening to someone who's heavily experience-based, it would be like taking investment advice from someone with $10 in the bank. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know who's out there. I have no idea. I've never read a book on parenting. I don't look at any other parenting experts or coaches. I stay in my own lane because I'm kid taught. It would be of no benefit to me whatsoever to study what other people are doing. I know what's out there from what my clients tell me. Any tips for 4-year-old riding the bus? Been doing well this week, but it's hit or miss. Oh, you mean all by themselves getting on a school bus? No, I don't have any tips for that. I just don't. That's something that the reason is the school or the bus driver, they have their own rules. And yeah, it's kind of like it's sort of like saying helping them manage at school. It's, they've just got to learn because it's not under your control is what I'm saying. Not much you can do. I'll tell you a cute story. This was years ago. I don't remember who told it or whatever, but anyway, they were saying that they really believe that their child should learn how to take a bus all by themselves. Now, this was a city bus. It was a 5-year-old. I was totally against this, but anyway, that's ridiculous. But anyway, fine, okay. So they said, okay, and they did a dry run with the kid. He was 5 years old and he was going to be taking a city bus all by himself. And it wasn't even necessary. The parents I think they'd gone off to work, but they could have stayed with him. Anyway, so they believed in independence. Fine, so do I, but not at 5 on a city bus. Anyway, whatever. It's kind of a debatable whatever. But anyway, not my comfort zone. So anyway, they did a dry run. They said, okay, you wait here, and then the bus will come. You get on the bus, and they did a dry run. They got on the bus with the kid, and they did all this stuff, right? So sure enough, school morning, they drove and they dropped the kid off at the bus stop, and then they drove off to work. He stood there. The bus didn't come, and he walked home. Because he didn't understand the bus doesn't come the second he arrives. He thought that as soon as you get to the bus stop, because when they had done that, the bus got there, that he stood there, bus didn't come right away. He walked home, and it was a long walk home. The parents were hysterical. They got a call from the school saying he hadn't arrived. He couldn't find his home. He was lost. The police had to go out and find him. What a mess. But that's why you don't send a 5-year-old on a city bus, because you can't think of everything, right? They're very literal. You stand here and wait for the bus. Okay, I waited 10 seconds. Now I'm going to go home. They didn't say wait until it comes. Anyway. I'm having a huge issue with my 20-fun boy. He literally screamed for 3 hours straight. Yeah, that can happen. Although that's a little bit extreme. I don't know what you're doing. Are you inconsistent? Do you sometimes give in, then other days you don't? Are you a yeller? Yeah. So what's your level of calmness? Because he's feeding off of you generally. If he's going for 3 hours, he's feeding off of you. I don't know what you're doing. Remember, I never fix kids. I fix and teach parents here. So I would need, if you want my help, you'd have to hire me for that. I'd have to figure out what's going on there. Back talking, refusing to do work, but was doing this except for wet clothes when Dad was alive. I don't know what you mean. Oh, I like this one. My 3-year-old, because it's such an easy solution. My 3-year-old hits her sister and snatches toys out of her hands. What can I do? The sister who hits and snatches toys, the consequence for that, you say no, and you say, because you took that toy, now your sister gets to play with that for the rest of the day. Do you understand? And then keep them separate. She'll probably go bananas. That's okay. Never be afraid of a scene. Behind every scene is a lesson. I know it's agony for you, but it's worth it. It's just, it's torture now. Like, what do I usually say? Oh, short-term pain for long-term gain. I haven't said that in a long time. I used to say it all the time. Yeah, short-term pain for long-term gain. It's going to be rough. It's going to get ugly. Yep, but there's the perfect lesson. You snatched a toy out. Now she gets it for the whole day. How to stop yelling. That's like someone trying to lose weight, how to stop eating. I just tell you what to do instead. So it's, you divert yourself with other things. You divert yourself with leadership. You won't need to yell once you learn how to be a leader. Like my parents never yelled at me once, not ever. I didn't yell. Yeah, my kids aren't yellers. So yeah, it gets easier, but you just do everything else that I'm explaining and you won't need to yell. You're only yelling because you don't know what else to do. That's the only reason most parents yell. My clients, almost all my clients yell when they turn up, when we first get started. Um, it throws me off if they don't. I literally am like, I'm all ready to write down no yelling is their rule. And they'll go, yeah, we don't yell. Literally, I go like this. I don't even know what to do with them. That's how common yelling is. You only do it because you don't know what else to do. Just keep watching. I have a whole Bratbusters boot camp if you want to look at that. It's a whole course, 5 weeks on how to be a leader. And I've got mini toddler courses and my free behavior board. The behavior board's actually a small part of all this, but it's a good start. It's where I get everyone started. And in that course, the Bratbusters boot camp, the 5 weeks, the first 3 weeks, you have behavior boards. There's tons of other stuff thrown in there, but you have 3 behavior boards. Week 4, we go off the behavior boards. We don't use like I never used a behavior board. Because you've learned enough how to not use a behavior board. It's kind of a crutch when you're first learning how to do this. It gets you organized and teaches you how to give respect to get it and how to be accountable yourself. But everyone wants to go to week 4. Some people have actually jumped to week 4 and started there. How do you think that goes? Yeah, I usually hear from them. You were right. You said not to go to week 4 and we did. What a disaster. Yeah, it is. You got to start. It's like anything, right? It's like if you were going to take flying lessons and you learned 2 dials, or you didn't even want to learn 8 dials, you just wanted to fly the plane. You think you'd crash? Probably. You've got to learn all the dials, all the, the instruments and all that first before you actually take the plane out. So yeah. Actually, I've been coaching now. I started my business about 17 years ago. And in the first, because I never used a behavior board. And the first year, people were getting results, but nowhere near what I thought they should get. But I was teaching what I did. And that's not what you do. You teach people, like I learned all this stuff when I was young. I learned this when I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. So it was just innate in me to do all this stuff. Then a year after I started my business, I invented that behavior board and I put the parents on it too. And that's changed everything. I haven't changed it in all those years. Like 16 years, I've had the exact same behavior board. It works. It just does. It teaches you how to get organized, how to only focus on one thing, 1 rule per week. So you get organized, you only focus on one thing at a time. And you're on it too. You have to be on it. You have to be accountable. Yeah, I never yelled or I never repeated myself. Just set yourself up as a leader. That Bratbusters Bootcamp teaches you how to do all this if you're interested in that, or you can just start with the free behavior board. It's all in the link above, okay? Yeah, I would never repeat myself because you're weak if you do. Once I say something, if it doesn't happen, I just take action. And I'm very calm, you didn't get that done, so here's what we're going to do. It's like that. So, and I only ask kids to do something if it's fair and reasonable and they're able to do it. Like I wouldn't ask a teenager to take out the garbage if they're right in the middle of a racing game. You know what I mean? Like you got to be respectful. I haven't started trying to gentle parent until now. I don't teach gentle parenting at all. That's not me. If that's what you're after, you will not like me at all. That's not me at all. What age do you start the behavior board? The behavior board starts at the age of 3. Any parenting book recommendations? I've never read one, so no. And I don't know what's out there. I stay in my lane. I'm kid taught and teenager taught. They taught me all this. So I'm experience-based. So I've never ever studied kids outside of kids. They taught me all this. So yeah, I can't give you any advice. I don't teach nannying, so I can't tell you. Because if I told you what to do with the kids you work with and the parents didn't like it, see what I mean? I teach parenting only. That's all I teach. A lot of my clients are teachers and principals, child psychologists, and they often want advice for how to deal with clients or students, and I don't do that. 15-month-old in the car cries for a bottle. I never gave my kids a bottle I never gave them anything to eat or drink in the car. So why do they need that? It's become a crutch and they're using it against you now. They're probably trying to whack you in the back of the head at this point. So yeah, I don't know why they need that. I don't remember ever giving my kids. No, they never had food or drink in the car. I'm very fussy too. I didn't want to mess. But yeah, they didn't need to. So yeah, you're kind of setting them up. You can kind of set yourself up for that one. The link is up in my bio, right at the top of the TikTok there. It just says Bratbusters link tree. It's just basically my website in bullet point form to make it easier for you. Yeah, definitely a crutch. It started during drives, 15-hour drives to visit family. Yeah, we did some long drives too, but we'd pull over and have a snack. We'd sit by the side of the road with our little snacks. And so, yeah, I never gave them anything in the car. 1-year-old wants to be held all day. I always say babies, I just did whatever they wanted. I gave in to all their demands because babies don't really make demands to. But if I needed some time to myself or just to get the laundry done or something, I would just get them started with something and then I'd say, I'll be right back. And then I might not go back for an hour. So I'd say, okay, here we go. Look at this. Woo, very good. And I'd walk away. I'll say, I'm coming back. And, I keep talking to them. They'll eventually learn. It's just a stage. They're so tiny. They just go through stage after stage after stage. And parents of new parents with young ones want to fix all this stuff. If you just wait it out, it'll probably disappear anyway. Like, they're not as clingy. They'll come an age where they don't want anything to do with you, and you'll think, geez, I wish they were all over me again. Do you have number one most important parenting rule? I've got some pretty standard. Let me see here. No, I don't. Because once I start talking like that, I never shut up. I got a million things I could tell you. I would say listening is really important. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. So like I never told my kids what to do. If they came to me with something, Mommy, what should I do with this? I'd say, well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And we would talk about, I raised problem solvers. I never wanted to solve my kids' problems for them. I would guide them through solving them themselves. So that was really important to me, is make them strong individuals and have fun with them. Play with your kids. I was best buddies with my kids. I had a blast with them. And I always played in their world. So if they were toddlers, I was down on the ground and they were playing, they build like all these train sets all over. My body was like a mountain and they build all these train sets all over it, over my face and everything. I loved all that. I was part of their play. And they just kind of look at you differently when you enter their world. So enter their world right through the teen years. Enter their world. I'm not saying you dress like a teenager and go sup, trying to be cool. Nothing like that. But just if you want to get closer to your teenager, watch what they do. And then just be around and see if maybe they invite you to do what they like. Like that's what I did with my son. He was playing PlayStation games. I got funny stories about that, but I won't tell it right now. I think I just told that last night. So. Yeah, little ones just go through stage after stage. And I know that you're new parents when you want to fix all this stuff. Whenever someone has older kids and toddlers, they never ask anything about toddlers. They just understand they're crazy. And they're going to go through stage after stage. Just when you're trying to figure something out, they're going to switch and be a completely different toddler. So yeah, they're just toddlers, right? But I do have my top 5 toddler tips. God, someone told me what to name this, and I still do it wrong. Top 5 tips for toddlers. Thank you for telling me how to name that, because I'm really bad at naming things. Here they are. If you have a toddler, here's my top 5 tips. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, have a toy rotation system so they're never bored. They only have a few toys out at any given time, and maybe once a week, rotate them. Number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. You don't connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill, so you enter their world. Number 4 is stop trying to figure them out. They don't make any sense. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. They're not sane yet. I always call them crazy, but it's just that they're not sane yet. Sticking their hands down their pants and smearing poop on the wall might be completely normal to some toddlers. Okay, so don't try and figure them out. Number 5 is stop with the mini therapy sessions. When you're trying to correct bad behavior, this mini therapy sessions discussing feelings and big emotions, it's garbage. That was invented to make the moms feel good about themselves. Has nothing to do with the toddler. It's self-serving to the mom. That's all it is. It's absolutely irrelevant to a toddler. They are about consistent corrective actions. If you want to correct their behavior, consistent corrective actions, because they learn through repetition, and it's only actions, not words. I know these mini therapy sessions, I know they're hugely popular right now. They were invented to make the mom feel good about herself. They have nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. They're garbage. Drives me freaking nuts because I have to repair all this damage that's done because that backfires down the road, by the way. Yeah. We're not ignoring their feelings and everything. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. Well, you say 3-year-olds clingy. I don't know what you mean by clingy. And you've probably fed that too, because my daughter would have been like that. But I was always pushing her out. No, you're at dance class. I paid good money for this. You go out and dance. So, and then she'd go, oh, okay. So I was never I never fed it. And sometimes parents will say, yeah, but I love it when she's all over me. Sometimes it's sort of a need that the mom has that she doesn't realize it. So she's maybe hung on to her little one. And now that she wants some freedom, she's already taught this little one to cling on to her. She hasn't taught that little one to fly on their own. My kids were really little. When they were up on their feet, I went to the gym daycare. They went to the gym daycare every single day because I still work out every day. I used to work out every day. So I'd take them to the gym daycare and they had to go in the daycare every single morning. And my son loved it so much. That was his whole social life. So when I'd pick him up on weekends, he couldn't go. So when he saw mom dressed for the gym, he'd start to cry because he couldn't go with me because on weekends, the gym daycare wasn't open, right? So yeah, I was always pushing them to be independent. Doesn't mean I wasn't cuddling them, but I wasn't always hanging on to them either. So yeah. How busy should I keep my 6-year-old? That was a real trend for a long time there. Parents were bragging about how overscheduled their kids were. I think we've realized that was a big mistake. What happens is you're teaching your children that you have to be a clown act. You're always trying to juggle and keep them entertained. There's nothing wrong with kids having downtime and actually being bored sometimes and just being able to sit in their own thoughts. That's really important to learn how to do that, be able to sit in your own thoughts. And maybe they can just think, maybe I'll go, there's no screen time right now. We're not scheduled for anything. Maybe I'll go sit with a book. Maybe I'll go sit with the dog. Maybe I'll go out in the backyard and play fetch with the dog. You got to teach them that you're not there to entertain them every second. They do need some downtime. When do they get time to think and really get to know themselves? Yeah, so you got to mix it. Balance is the key. How are you tonight? I'm great. Wonderful. Okay, you got a 2-year-old in a crib. As soon as my kids were out of the crib, I always say as soon as they hit the ground, they were out of the crib. So I dismantled the crib, and then I just used the mattress for a while until we got a bigger bed, and then I put pillows around it and everything. But bedtime battles is something I still haven't got that course done. I've got no good excuse for that. I could make something up, but I've got no good excuse for that. Anyway, I still haven't got that done. It's pretty much done. It's just something I don't like about it, and I just never go in and change it. Anyway, bedtime battles is twofold. One is the bedtime routine. So you do the bath and read to them for 20 minutes. Then lights out, good night, stay in your room, love you, and then you leave the room. As soon as they get out of bed, the first time they do it, you say, I said it's bedtime. You put them back in bed. The second time they get out of bed, you say one word, bedtime, put them back in bed. For the rest of the night, it might be 100 times. You don't look at them or talk to them, and you're very slow and pedantic and quiet, like you don't say anything. You just put them back in bed, put them back in bed, put them back in bed. They'll just learn. You're a robot. Yeah, don't think about it. Just do it. It works. It's usually one night of sheer hell, and then they never get up again. If the bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. The worst I ever heard, there might have been worse, but I never heard about it, was one of my clients did it till, I think this is a much older kid, like about 6 years old, would not stay in bed. Was just like basically running around the house all night. Wasn't even crawling into bed with the parents, was just be out there wreaking havoc around the house in the middle of the night, like an older kid. So anyway, I said, it's going to be a night of sheer hell. And it was. I think the parents went till 5 a.m, putting this kid back to bed without looking at him or talking. You're not looking at me. You don't love me. I said, he's going to say all that stuff. He's going to try and manipulate the heck out of you. They didn't look at him or talk to him all night. And they went till 5 a.m. And the dad was drinking too. He didn't expect to need more than a bottle of wine. He went through like 3 bottles of wine because he didn't think it was going to go that long. He was bouncing off the wall. The mom had to take over. The way the dad told this story, we were crying, we were laughing so hard. So he said, all I did was drink alcohol and curse you out, Lisa. So anyway, the kid never got up again. It was that one night of hell, and the kid never got up again. It was only one night. So what actions can I do to teach my 1-year-old to be gentle towards other kids? Not much. I mean, just consistent corrective actions. You just say no and remove them from the fun, or remove the other kids from them. They'll eventually learn, maybe after a week or two. But you gotta do it every single time. If you're not consistent, there's no lesson there. It means sometimes I can do it. That's what you're teaching your kids. If you're not consistent, you're teaching them it's okay to do that sometimes. It's exactly what they pick. That's how they learn. They think, okay, I can't do it 8 times out of 10, but I can do it 2, so I'm gonna keep going. You see, that's why it has to be consistent. They're very literal. Is it right or is it wrong? You see, it's either right or wrong. They're black and white. They're extremes. I'm like that. I don't have a gray area. I'm black or white. I love that. I hate that. Like I'm very. I think that's why I relate to kids so well. I've got a lot of that in me. Oh, teen daughter doesn't want anything to do with me, says I'm annoying, don't know how to connect. Yeah, you might want to hire me for that. If not, I'll tell you a funny story. Teenagers, it's 5 sessions usually with teenagers. That's up in the link above. Anyway, tell you this cute story. Well, yeah, the ending is cute. It was pretty ugly to start with, but anyway, this was quite a while ago now, and this mom was had a 16-year-old boy. They just bought him a brand new car. He was 16, but he didn't have his license yet. So every single night, the mom would take him out for a driving lesson after dinner. They fought the whole time. She says we've actually never got along. She said I don't know if it's because we're so much alike. We're always locking heads. And I said, well, tell me how the driving lessons goes. And she goes, no matter what I tell him, he just gets mad and tells me to get off his back. I said, oh, so you're a nag. And she said, yeah, yeah. So anyway, I said, tell you what, on the behavior board, and with teenagers, you call it an accountability chart. I said, on the accountability chart, you put down your rule is no yelling. Don't force it, but when you feel a yell coming on, make sure you make that mistake and yell. So yell at him. Your consequence for yelling is you cannot speak during the next driving lesson. Like literally can't say anything unless it's life and death. Look out for that train, that kind of thing. So she goes, well, I can't do that. You know, he's just learning. And that I said, well, he's been going for quite some time now. So he must be decent at it, you know. So anyway, I said, well, you know, only if it's life and death, because I was pretty convinced she was not just, you know, telling him what he needed to hear. She was nagging him. So anyway, she goes, okay, okay. And I said, that's it. That's what you have to do. You have to do that. That's my recommendation. Don't waste your money on me. That's what I'm telling you have to do. And this is in week 1. Anyway, so she was not into this at all. But anyway, so she go, okay, fine. Because I always say, don't waste your money on me. This is what you have to do. I just know it. And sometimes I take a real hard line. Parents don't always like what I tell them to do, but with teenagers especially, it's usually a hard line with me. So I said, that's it. I'm not going to tell you anything else. That's what you have to do. So anyway, she did it. But she was so worried about talking accidentally that she put masking tape on her mouth to remind herself not to talk. So, and the son and her, they were just at war. They'd never gotten along. They were always fighting. She says, we've never enjoyed each other's company ever in 16 years. So, so she was quite distraught that she had no relationship with him whatsoever. So, except fighting. So anyway, as she's getting in the car with this masking tape, she caught a glimpse of herself in the side mirror and she started to laugh. And the bottom part of the masking tape lifted off and the tape was flapping when she was in her breath when she was laughing. Her son looked over, saw this, and they both started giggling. They laughed the whole time that he was driving. It was the best time. It was the most fun they'd ever had together. And that was the start of a beautiful relationship. So sounds crazy, but that's how she bonded with her son. I got a million ideas, but it's like that. It's something like that. He got what he wanted. He got his mom to shut up while he was driving, and then they ended up laughing because she did the masking tape. It works with a lot of parents. They don't all do the masking tape, but I've used that method with quite a few, and they say actually it's really great because the kid loves it when the parent can't talk. So you're giving them what they want because you yelled. You got to be accountable. You're being punished for yelling. You're not supposed to yell, so you get punished. Anyway, so that's just an example of how you bond with a teenager. Most parents don't like me in that first week with teenagers. I'm okay with that. I'm here to get you results. I don't care what you think of me. Like that first week, I usually ask parents of teenagers to do something they don't like. And that was a perfect example of that. She did not want to do that at all. Okay. Wow. Sorry, I live downtown. I have 5 kids under 11 years old. Wow. My girls are pretty good, but no angels. But my boy, oh boy. Okay. Yeah, you might want to hire me. If you've got that many kids, we might have to. I use systems when they're big families. I think the biggest family I ever had was 8 kids. And it was just systems, systems, systems. School morning routine, bedtime routine. We just got systems in place. So, and that's how you set up your leadership skills. When they're hitting with hands, I actually have a mini course on that, toddlers who hit and bite. If you're interested, that's just up in the link above. But yeah, it's consistent corrective action. If they hit, you remove the fun from them or you remove them from the fun. You say no, and then you just restrain them and you say no, and then you remove them from the fun for a little while. And if they continue hitting, restrain them. Then let go. See if they hit again, say no. Hold them, and then you just look away. Don't keep talking to them. Do not do those mini therapy sessions. That's where parents get stuck into that. It's a disaster. Yeah. God, I would love to tell you some of the stories with my clients. Um, I can't. I always get permission to tell stories, even though I don't use names. But yeah, some of the parents, oh my God, they've done the funniest things. And we just have a blast. I love coaching. One while ago, she was almost crying. She was telling me about what her kid was doing. And I was just cracking up. And she goes, why are you laughing at me? And I go, he's just a kid. Kids are funny. And then she got it. She goes, yeah, I guess it is kind of funny. It was driving her nuts. We did, have a solution to it, what her kid was doing, but it was just funny. Like, you got to have a sense of humor. Parenting's messy. Life is messy, but yeah, why are you laughing at me? Because it's funny. Think about it. Think about what he's doing. She goes, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of funny. It was funny. Kids are hilarious. Because I know how to fix it. So to me, it's just funny. I know the solution. She didn't know what to do about it. It was driving her nuts. Hands are not for hitting. If you're going to hit, you'll have to leave the room. I don't talk like that. I do not talk like that at all. That's the mini therapy session stuff. I do not do that at all. You go ahead and do that, but I would never do that. No, not at all. I got lots of reasons for that. I love it when some of my clients are child psychologists and they want to know the reasons behind all that. I won't go into it, but there's a very specific reason why I would not say that. Not at all. God, I want to go on about it. It's killing me. I can feel it right here. I want to go on. I won't go on about it though, because I know I'd go on a big spiel about it because I love all the psychology behind this. My 9-month-old doesn't point. You're worried that your 9-month-old isn't pointing? Gee, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I don't know why are you worried about that? Is that some milestone you read somewhere? You watch it with those milestones because they're just suggestions on what kids should be doing, what babies should be doing at certain ages. I knew someone who she wasn't walking or talking at the age of 3. Then she got up, said full sentences, and just ran across the room. She just was in no rush to do anything. She was very laid back still. She's in her 70s now, very laid back, calm person. So yeah, the milestones, boy, they would have sent her to an institution if they were worried about milestones. She was fine. The doctor told me she should be pointing. Well, if the doctor said that, I'm not a doctor, so yeah, I'm not gonna argue with the doctor. Maybe the doctor has some other reason behind that. I don't know, but yeah, if well, no, I'm not going to talk about it because if a doctor said that, I'm not going to step on a doctor's toes. Go on about it. The reason why you don't say that, they already know. Makes you look stupid. Makes you look dumb. Leaders don't explain themselves. Makes you look dumb. Makes them look like they're in charge. They already know not to hit. They already know. So yeah, it just makes you look weak. I should tell the pool story. No, I don't feel like it right now. I don't explain things because kids already know. A leader doesn't explain themselves. Plus, they're watching you, right? You're modeling what you want from them. I would never explain myself to a child. Do you have any coupons currently? No. My son is almost 4 and not speaking. What should I be doing? Okay, so that is at 4 they should be speaking, but I don't know what's he saying. So I don't know. I would go to a pediatrician or a doctor and ask their advice, see what they're saying. Do you talk a lot at home? My kids never shut up from the age of, God, they were talking early, but I never shut up. So, how much are you talking at home? Plus, when I was talking all the time, I was talking at my kids all the time. So I remember my son was like I remember he was 3 weeks old, I think, and he was trying to imitate, because I was always, my face was in that bassinet all day. God, I love mothering. It's so much fun. And he was just trying to talk when he was like 3 weeks old. He was trying to talk at me. So yeah, how much do you talk with your child and in their world? It's all about getting in their world. I don't know, because I don't really know what's going on. If you want to hire me, you could, but I'd also probably recommend you talk to a speech pathologist or someone to put your mind at ease and say, well, yeah, there's nothing wrong. Plus, your child's 4, they're probably in some kind of school, right? What does the teacher say? Teachers are very good at picking up stuff. They see a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, what do they say? Do you believe in the cried out method? I don't quite know what that is. I know I get asked that a lot. It can be applied because it can be applied to a whole bunch of different stuff. Sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't. So, in what circumstance do you use the cried out method? How do you improve eye contact? Well, I don't know. My kids and I remember we always seemed to be looking at each other. And I was talking, and they were always mimicking me. I can remember that. I loved all that. Actually, my son, with my oldest, when he was 3, he went off to kindy, and the teacher couldn't understand him because he had a Canadian accent. And my kids were raised in Australia. So, but she couldn't understand him because it's hard to understand 3-year-olds as it is. But he had a Canadian accent. She goes, he never stopped talking, and he had a Canadian accent. She couldn't understand a word he said. I thought that was funny. But my daughter didn't because she had an older brother who was Australian. My husband was Australian too. So, but yeah, so she didn't have that heavy Canadian accent. But eye contact, yeah, just keep looking at them. But you enter their world. Like, I'll show you something. I've worked with lots of disabled children. And one of the tricks I used to use, especially with autism, is you can't get their attention all the time. For one, I do tend to mimic them a lot. Whatever they're doing, I tend to imitate it. And because that shows that you're in their world. But one thing that you do something out of the ordinary that's completely silly. There weren't exactly these things, but anyway. So I would look at a kid. If I couldn't get their attention, I would just look away. And when I look back, I would look like this. Just do something ridiculously silly. I used to use chopsticks and stick them up in here. They were like long teeth, and you get their attention pretty quick. So once you've got it, then you got to hang on to it. It's like a juggling act. Geez, it's a lot of work. But yeah. So I used to. Just interrupt them, get their attention. And then once you've got it, then they're looking at you. Like, what are you going to do next? The chopsticks were really good. The big long teeth, 2 front teeth. But yeah, so just be silly. Find your inner toddler. Yeah. If they don't look at you, if you've got something stuff up your nose or in your ears or chopsticks hanging out of your mouth, then you might want to take them and see what's going on there. I've never had a problem getting attention doing that stuff. The adults look at me too. That's a bit embarrassing. Tips for tantruming while leaving the park. It's all the same stuff. My son used to do that. That's when he had tantrums, is when we were leaving somewhere. He didn't have tantrums when I took something away from him. Didn't bother him. But when we were leaving somewhere fun, and I would give him warning. I did all the right stuff. We're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. Okay, let's pack everything up. So he knew we were leaving. And I knew. He didn't always do it, but I knew when he was going to do it. He'd just look at me like this. And I just knew that we're going to have a tantrum. So I would just drag him into the car and then I'd ignore him. Yeah. So you take them, you physically take them where they've got to be. I would strap him into the car, but then I'd just ignore him. If he was having a really bad one, I'd probably just stand there and let him lay on the ground and have a tantrum, just waiting it out until he's finished. Okay, all done? Okay, let's get going now. But yeah, you still ignore it. But you don't disrupt other people. Like if you were in church or in a restaurant, you don't let them lay on the floor there and disrupt everybody. You take them out in the parking lot or in the car, and then you ignore them. You still don't talk to them. When you pick them up, you're not looking at them or talking. You just pick them up and move them. And then you ignore them where you are, where it's somewhere more appropriate. What about bipolar in children? There's a high chance my children will have it due to genetic. Well, I found out my mother was schizophrenic, my birth mother. And it's funny because, well, I don't know if she's schizophrenic or bipolar, often misdiagnosed. Anyway, my grandmother, my adopted family, I didn't know this about my birth mother. I only found that out a few years ago. And it was funny because I grew up adopted, and I was always joking that because there was bipolar in my family, in my adopted family. So I said, thank God I'm adopted, you know. So it got to be a joke, like, thank God I'm adopted. I'll never have to worry about that. Then I found out like a few years ago, my mom had already passed away, my dad, a long time ago. So, but isn't that funny? Then I found out my real mother was schizophrenic, and I never got anything. My kids are fine. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Don't borrow trouble. That my grandmother was bipolar, and 2 of my cousins, I believe, have it. But there's 10 of us, 10 cousins, or I'm adopted, so I don't count. But there's 9 genetic cousins, like grandchildren, and only 2 of them got it. So, and none of the kids got it. My mom and her sisters, the daughters, didn't get it. So don't borrow trouble. It might not happen. I didn't get schizophrenia, not yet anyway. I've never had anything like that, and neither of my kids. So. Okay. My son tantrums for a long time. Okay, how old is he? I'll look for your answer. When I think it's over and try to move on, then he gets worse. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what I do. But I need to know how old he is. Like if he's 1.5, it's different from if he was 3 and over. So I'll just wait for your answer. I'm trying to, I'll just wait another couple seconds because otherwise, I know it's delayed. I'm just looking here. Has it come through yet? No, I'll have to move on. Okay. Ideas for activities at night for hyper kids. Their bedtime is 6:30 and 7, and they are 3 and 4. I don't quite understand what you mean. Activities at night, they're hyperactive. Um, I don't quite know what you mean by that. You'll never wear out hyperactive children, by the way. It's impossible. It almost seems to rev them up, but you still want to get some of the energy out, even though it tends to rev them up sometimes, but you don't do that at night. I would teach them calming, like whenever I've worked with hyperactive kids, which was almost all the time. So I would have like calming exercises. I would say, okay, let's do some deep breaths. And I would always use humor and fun. Kids learn best through fun. So then we would have calming activities, and we would have contests. And I would say something like this: let's see how long we can hold our breath. So I would go, oh, and we'd hold our breath, and they didn't know I was breathing through my nose. And they go, wow, Lisa, you're the best. And I go, whew, whew, that was a long 3 minutes, stuff like that. So it's sitting down, calming exercises. But yeah, have competitions, stuff like that, maybe musical instruments, maybe reading, maybe some artwork at nighttime. I would not do anything physical at night, not running around. By the way, a lot of people say to me, well, I try and wear them out during the day. I go to the park and they were swinging for like hours. That's not exercise. Have them swing 3 times and then run around the swing set 3 times. Swinging is not exercise. It's just swinging. Throwing everything nighttime. Yeah, throwing. Just put it away. Every time they throw something, say no and put it away. And then ignore them. So they learn through consistent corrective actions. They don't talk to them about it. They're not listening to you. They are watching you. It's all about actions. They are not listening to you. They will parrot you. They will say, yes, mommy, yes. And they're not listening to you, though. They're parroting you. They're going to keep doing it. If you have those many therapy sessions, they'll just keep doing it. Sarah, I want to know what is that the second half of your question? Because I want to, if you're asking what I think you are, I want to address it, but I'm not sure. No, looks like that was just the one question, and I'll tell you what I was thinking. Okay, I'll tell you how I interpreted this. Could be something better after the park. We are going to eat dinner or snacks in the car. So if they don't want to leave the park, you're trying to bribe them to get them away from the park. I wouldn't do that. So if they don't want to do something, here's candy. Here's, yeah, I don't bribe them. Um, yeah, that's where I'm going with that. And I never fed my kids in the car. You know why? A few reasons. I'm very fussy and clean. I didn't think it was necessary. I don't think food is an activity. I never treated it as an. I see kids walking around with food all the time, and it's just then they put it down. Their house is dirty, and they're just dropping everything. My kids had to sit at the kitchen table before if they ate anything. That was it. So yeah, snacks in the car. I don't see food as an activity. Also, I don't reward. Um, if they're leaving, I want them to just leave without having to be rewarded for leaving. You see what I mean? You're bribing them there. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Are you still no soda? Oh gosh, yeah. I'm better now. I quit Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke. It was just getting to me. I was drinking gallons of the stuff, and I had a really bad day. My heart was racing at the gym. It scared me. Like it blew up my heart rate. Well, it went up to 130, and I wasn't doing anything. And I have I have a 51 beats per minute resting heart rate, and it went up to like 130. Scared the heck out of me. So I quit drinking Diet Coke. I quit. It'll be 2 weeks this Friday. Thanks for remembering that, because I was always sucking on Diet Coke. It was hard, but I do that every few years. I'll go back on it and then I'll go off. And then every time I think, okay, I'll just allow myself to have one when I'm out. Sure enough, it's like smoking. You can't have a little bit. I get addicted to this stuff. So, yeah. And then whenever I did have it, people would say, oh, it really doesn't taste very good. It was like nectar from the gods. I go, glug, glug. Oh my God, this stuff is great. Yeah, I love that stuff. And it's so unhealthy. I'm not good with caffeine, so that's why I don't tend to have it. When I was little, my dad used to lock me in my room until it was done tantruming. Yeah, I don't like that. No, I want my kids right there. I want them to see me being bored out of my mind, just waiting for them to stop. I'm not talking to them. It's important that I'm there. You want to be present when they're having a tantrum. There's no way I would walk away from a tantrum or put them in another room. I just wouldn't. But how do I put this? It's better than having a mini therapy session. That's like the worst, except hitting, obviously. But yeah, there's worse things than locking them in a room. Actually, I have to get going. I'll answer one more question. I'll just do my little outro. If you go in the link above, that's basically my whole website in bullet point form. Also, my website's all different now too, but it's all the same information. It's just been updated. Anyway, you've got my courses. You've got my Bratbusters boot camp in there. You can transform into a leader in 5 weeks. That's the whole goal behind that. That's from 3 to 12-year-olds. If you've got a teenager, that's usually 5 sessions of coaching one-on-one with me. Toddlers, I've got some mini toddler courses, or you can hire me for coaching too. And then also the behavior board starts at the age of 3, and that's completely free. And you're on that too. That's what makes it work. Sign up for that. Also sign up for the newsletter when you do, because you'll get stuff in the newsletter that you don't see anywhere else. So anyway, so I'll do one more question. Well, one of them, I just don't want to answer it because it's such a glib answer, so I don't want to answer it. I might end up having to. Ah. Okay, what consistent corrective action do you suggest for 23-month-old when he screams, driving me crazy? I don't correct screaming. Screaming is in the attitude department. I just pretend I don't even hear it. And I would be more likely to just wander away, like just go off and do a chore or something. So I wouldn't hang around listening to it. I would just go, oh, gotta go put this pen in the other room. Just kind of look like I don't even notice. And then when they're quiet, then I might say, hey, do you want to read a book or something? So you ignore the crazy and reward the comments. Kind of like a tantrum, but a little bit different. Yeah, I wouldn't wander away during a tantrum. But yeah, if they're just screaming just to get attention, it's just manipulation. They're just in charge. That's what they think anyway. So yeah, if a kid's screaming with me, I'd just go, oh, okay, whatever. And then I just, yeah, this mouse has to be put away. And, I'd just be off doing stuff, just wandering around the house doing stuff. But when they're calm, you got to reward that. Don't say anything about it though. Oh, now that you've calmed down, I'm glad you're not screaming. Don't do the many therapy sessions. It's just a disaster. So just say, oh, okay, do you want to play a game? And then if they start screaming, okay, game over. And then get up and wander away again. They'll connect the dots. But you got to be consistent because as I said earlier, if you do that 8 times out of 10, they've just learned, oh, it's okay to do it sometimes. It's like you're lying to them. It's like when you're saying no to a child and then you let them get away with it, it's like they don't trust you. When you pick a battle that you want to fight with a kid, like you want to stop them from doing something, you have to be 100% consistent. 100%. Because if you're inconsistent, you're not a leader. They're like, oh, I see. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it isn't. That's how they interpret it. So yeah, I would just wander away as if, oh, I don't even hear it. That's what I would do. Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'll be back again tomorrow. I don't know what time. Anyway, happy parenting. Bye now.